Governor Perdue appointed federal prosecutor David Namias to the state's highest court last year. He took the place of a justice once considered on Barack Obama's high court shortlist, Leah Sears. Court watchers say Namias is reliably conservative. Namias models himself after arch-conservative U.S. Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia. The shift in judicial outlook now goes before voters as two lawyers vie to unseat Namias. The first, Matt Wilson, describes himself as a moderate conservative.
There's a great deal that Rehnquist did that I agree with and admire many of his decisions, and Sandra Day O'Connor. And I particularly would agree with her attempt to be polite and to try to develop consensus on a case.
Wilson has made Namias' record a big part of his campaign. Wilson says Namias has rolled back justice in cases involving the right to a jury trial and business liability. But his challenges are harshest about ethics. Wilson calls Namias, who served in politically appointed jobs, a consummate insider with political debts to pay.
I think it's an insider versus outsider, conflict of interest versus clean government.
Wilson cites a recent case when former State Attorney General Mike Bowers argued at the High Court on behalf of public schools against charter schools. Bowers co-chairs and donated money to Namias' re-election and chaired the committee that recommended Namias for his seat on the court. Namias didn't recuse himself or disclose his ties to Bowers. Matt Wilson says that's just one example of conflict.
That's how this elite clique of Atlanta high-paid law firms and Justice Namias view the way in which they should conduct business. I think that's abhorrent.
Namias denies he has a conflict of interest in the charter school case and on the court in general.
Well, I'll put my reputation for integrity up against my opponents any day of the week. With respect to Mike Bowers, he has donated to my campaign. I didn't know the amount until it was reported in the newspaper after my opponent ginned up some stories, because I don't look at the amounts of money that any of my contributors contribute.
In response to individual cases, Namias says Wilson didn't hear the testimony and shouldn't judge. For Namias, his campaign is about experience. He prosecuted high-profile cases in federal court, served in the U.S. Justice Department, and has been on the court for a year. He also touts an experience rating by the Georgia Bar Association.
Well, in the State Bar poll, 95% of the respondents who knew me said that I was well qualified or qualified to serve as a justice.
Namias' two opponents both scored less than 70%. Namias also claims the support of Leah Sears. He says that proves even though he's more conservative, people know he's fair.
Judges should do everything in their power to keep their own personal preferences out of it, and also to make sure that when the law produces results that may be unpopular, that judges have the integrity to actually follow the law and not twist the law to reach some particular end.
Tamala Adkins also is challenging Namias, but she's something of a mystery. She's not campaigning and recently changed her name to Tammy Lynn Adkins. GPB made several attempts to speak to her, but she did not return phone calls. For GPB News, I'm Orlando Montoya.